Greetings, this is Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. This will be another stumble through it that kind of episode, but wanted to feature Eve War for New Eden. This is the second attempt at a board game for Eve, and the third attempt at a tabletop game for Eve in general. The first one being the card game. So the goal of the game is to get to 10 victory points. Victory points are represented with these tokens. How do you get to them? Well, like I said, we'll be stumbling through this, so let's go over it by step here. In a 4-player game, there will be the framework, and it's worth noting that these faction tiles flip over. So depending on where they are in that framework, will determine what side they need to be on. You'll have the outer border, all the 1 spaces, all the 2s, and all the 3s. Let's see. Everyone's got their faction. They'll get their faction panel. They'll start with little cubes on their free actions, and then an extra cube on the 5, and extra cube on the 10. Every round, you'll get 3 actions for free, and then you can potentially take more by spending money or pass. But those will go towards the 7 actions on the left there. Also, keep track of your interstellar credits at the bottom. Once again, it's another money tracker. I like having coins. In fact, I kind of wish I held on to some of the coins from the card game, but it is what it is. At least it doesn't scatter. They won't scatter around with being recessed. You'll have a development panel. Cubes will go into the slots when you've researched those developments. You'll have 4 slots for development cards. You'll keep them face down until you actually have enough research. They come in categories like conquest, diplomacy, economy, structures, spaceships, and combat. Some you'll need to develop before others, like T1 before T2 for various systems. But once you've got your faction, you'll prepare the 4 that you want to work on. Everybody will also start with their little player box of various components, including the cubes. One of the neat little things about this is they didn't need to, but the lid also has the faction symbol. Neat little detail. And you'll have your development cards. You'll have your strategy cards. You'll have your ships. Ships can be anywhere from small frigates. Like here's one. To the gigantic battle cruisers. Alright. You'll start with one of each of your frigate types in your home system. In any part of it. So we'll probably start out exploring this way, so we'll start there. As part of setting up your home system, you'll have to put unlock tokens on 2 of the mineral spots. Whichever one you leave uncovered, you get the matching mineral card. There are 3 basic types of minerals: tritanium, pyrite, and mexilon. And then there's the rare type, morphite. Only EVE players know that that leaves 4 that are unfeatured in the game, but that's entirely understandable. You'll start with a random event card. Events have their timing and all that. You'll have 3 mission cards, and you'll have to choose one of them to go for. Presumably, this is how you get your VP in general. Just trying to accomplish these missions. Like, let's say, Market Breaker. Gain 1 VP for each 10 credits you have to a maximum of 3. So if you prepare well for it, if you chose your developments carefully and worked on those to help you get it, it'll pay off. And since that's what my developments are going for, we'll go ahead and go with that. Any unselected missions will get shuffled back in. Alright. The player with the oldest EVE Online account gets the first player token, or you can choose it at random. For the record, because this had to be my second account because of Steam. I had to start that in like 2022, and my computer wasn't good enough, so it took another couple of years and a better computer to actually play it again. But I have tried playing this game, or EVE Online, back in 2008. That is the furthest back that I tried playing this game. Anyway, so once everything's set up, it'll go on to the first round and all that. Let's go ahead and cover the basic concepts of the game first. Actions. During each game round, players will take turns either performing an action or passing. Once again, move a cube to the spot on the left. Once everyone passes, everyone gets their goods and their assets. There's stuff like planetary materials, moon materials, components, and of course the minerals that are going to be critical to what you need to do in the game. You are limited to having up to 12 minerals at a time. You're limited to 49 interstellar credits. Any other type of token is basically limited to what's available, I believe. Developments. You'll be trying to put research on your developments. Once you have enough, you can reveal it, and it now is in play and helping you. It does not get replaced yet, unless it says so. And there is at least one that does. Your home systems. Players cannot claim your home systems, but they can raid them. They're considered to have a strength of 2 for determining the outcome of raids on combat. At the start of the game, systems will be unexplored. You'll have to move in and discover them. You have to have a certain amount of movement to move in. So, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, move action is choose a system with your fleet and move the ships of 2 new systems. So where's your movement coming from? Let's see. Again, this is a stumbling through it of just going through and seeing what I can figure out of the game so far. I can probably do a better job of this on a second run. I might actually do the 2-player run through of this game. Anyway. Let's go ahead and demonstrate what a system looks like on the other side. The game comes with this little suction cup because these tiles are so close together. Just slightly enough to get it on there. Don't push it all the way down. Just enough so you can pick it up. But here's a new system. The star number is discovery. That's how many tokens are drawn from the discovery token bag when revealed. Let's go ahead and draw one and see what it looks like. Because, alright. So there's a 1 moon material. Some systems have a slot for asteroid belts. When the system's revealed, it gets that many asteroids, and you're going to need them to expand your mining capabilities. So there's one with green. And then these 2 slots are for structures, and this shows materials you can get. Okay. Alright. Control. Claim systems. Alright, so let's say we've got that available. Let's put that one token back on there. Okay, we ended up with a different one. Draw the discovery. Okay. Okay. Money, yeah. Okay. The claim action, put a control token, I believe this is control token, on a system. You can only build structures and collect resources in systems you control. Which makes sense. Trading and manufacturing. So trade, let's see here. Trade lets you buy and sell resources. Manufacture lets you make things out of minerals. Okay. Manufacture components is 2 Mexilon. Manufacture moon materials. Where we go? Is 2 tritanium. Huh. Okay. Manufacture planetary goods is 2 pyrite. Getting to research is either 1 set of the 3 basics or 1 morphite. 1 victory point is 2 morphite and 1 of each of the basics. Drawing another mission or event card, it looks like, is a morphite or 1 set of the 3. And then trade. Components can be sold for 6 or bought for 7. Planet and moon materials can be bought for 6 or sold for 4. Morphite can be bought for 5 or sold for 4. A single basic mineral can be bought for 3 or sold for 1. Or, if you buy 3 at a time, you can buy 8 for 5 or sell, or buy a set of 3 for 8 or sell a set of 3 for 5. So bulk discounts are a thing. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of making stuff, turning stuff into other stuff. Okay. Missions and events. Again, missions are the way to get victory points. Event cards, one-time bonuses, are also awarded as reparations to bounce back after defeats in battle. Each set of 3 strength of destroyed ships lets you draw an event card. There's no limit to how many cards you can have in hand. Just create separate discard piles if you ever discard any. If you ever complete them or use them. And if those decks run out, they can be reshuffled. Alright, on to page 12. I swear I'll have a better grasp of this and do this better with the showdown. Building and build points. So everyone's faction panel starts with 6 right underneath income, which is why everybody starts with 4. But yeah, build 6 build points. So in a single build action, you've got 6 build points to work with, plus whatever minerals or other things you have to do. A small ship, like the ones we start with, is 1 build point, 1 tritanium, and 4 money. A medium ship is 3 build points, a planetary and a moon material, a Mexilon, and 6 money. And finally, big honkin' ships are 5 build points, a component, a morphite, and 8 money. In order to build the ships that are bigger than your small ships, you have to get to medium and large hulls, respectively, for medium and large ships. Alright. Structures, cost, 5 build points, and a pyrite, and various amounts of money. The engineering complex costs 6 money. The citadel costs 5. The refinery and customs office cost 4. We'll get to what those do later. Alright. Ships. Ships can only be deployed in home systems and systems with engineering complexes, which is why they're expensive. Ships can move to engage in combat and explore systems, but after each move, they become exhausted and cannot move again that round. So this is your exhaust token. If you move ships, they're exhausted, they're done for a round. They're done until the next turn. Okay. Single move action. So I think speed is how far they move. Speed 3. Well, the smaller ships are obviously going to be faster. But the bigger ships aren't too much slower. They still have a speed of 2, which is not bad. But it'll be your little ships exploring the galaxy. And your bigger ships holding place and protecting your stuff. Strategy cards. You start the game with your deck of strategy cards, and at the start of combat you choose and reveal one strategy. A given strategy can only be used once per game. There are developments and other stuff to get it back. The only card you get back is the neutral formation, which does nothing extra. That's ship strength in combat. Small ships only have 1. Medium ships have 3. And large ships have 5. The strength of remaining ships is compared to the end of combat to determine a winner. And the weaker ship has to... weaker ships have to retreat. Fleets with a strength of 3 or higher can also claim uncontrolled systems that they move to without using a claim action. So your little guys are exploring the galaxy. Your bigger ships can move in and claim and not care. Just saving you time. But once it gets to the 3 section, that's where it's going to hit a speed bump unless you do the warp drive efficiency. I think that's the one that increases all speed for all ships. Yeah, all ships have +1 speed, but it's also really expensive to get to. So your development panel. Again, this is where you keep track of your stuff. You'll need prerequisites like medium before large, T1 before T2. Combat. Ships get assigned to orbits, either leading or in support. And then the battle is limited to 3 rounds. We'll get to the details of that later. And finally, victory points. Once you get to 10 victory points, you declare Verge of Ascendancy. And then there's one emergency upkeep or 1 official upkeep, and then 1 last round. But the details of that are later in the book. We're on to page 13 with a game round. Alright, so turn order. Whoever has the first player token takes the first turn. Your turn begins automatically if you have at least 1 action cube in the free action pool. If you already spent them, then you can only do your turn if you spend the money. And I believe you're limited to the 5 action cubes, even if you do have the money to get that far. Once you're out of actions, you pass. Once everyone passes, it goes to upkeep. Before and after performing an action, you can also resolve the following. Completed development. Reveal that one of your developments has enough research on it to flip up and add to your area. Use of development. They did the very bold thing of using the terminology of the biggest card game, one of the biggest card games ever, of actually saying tap. But if it'll say use. So yeah, use. Choose a system you control and gain a mineral from an asteroid belt in it. So use it. Resolve an event card. This is probably the timing for most events that don't list a timing on them. So strategic planning to gain a basic mineral or return 2 discarded strategy cards. And then end a turn. If you're doing your turn and it's nothing that can affect your opponents, you can probably let your opponent do their turn while you're doing yours. If it's just getting stuff, making things, whatever, as long as you're not moving their direction, it should be good to go. There are things that can happen outside of a turn if conditions are met. Things like combat. Use cards that have reactions to them. If any of those are in here. Alright, so let's go down the list of actions. Move. So you choose a fleet that is not exhausted. It consists of at least 1 ship. It can be any number. You can you can do a split move as well. So next turn, we can send this guy that direction, that one, another one. You can just splinter off the fleet and send it off on its own. Yeah, whatever is just like one source, multiple directions. In that sense, it kind of reminds me a bit of Conquest. Okay, so in a single move, only 1 fleet can move into a system with an enemy fleet. So you're limited to starting 1 combat per move. You can move a number of systems based on speed. So if you're moving an entire fleet, it's limited to the slowest speed. So if you've got some small ships and some bigger ones, then only the small ones are going to move into the 3. Alright. Fleets can move through allied fleets without any movement. These fleets do not merge and more ships cannot join. So you can move through your own stuff, but nothing's gonna follow. A fleet has to stop if it's an unexplored system, another player's home system, a system contained by another player, or a system with enemy ships. And then, of course, after you're done moving, they're exhausted. All right. When doing a move action, you cannot choose a system with a token already in it. So, what situation you might end up in, like if you have like a chain of your ships, you're probably going to want to move the ships in front first, and then the ones behind it. And then, let's see. Things can still force a fleet to move into a system. Okay. Can you move your fleet into a space where you already have exhausted ships? Can see, choose a system with your fleet that does not have exhausted token for actually moving to a new system. Huh. No, the ship's already there, it can move. That's one of the things I'll have to look up, is if you can move a fleet to a system and then move a different fleet of yours to the same system. Yeah, moving into systems with enemy ships means starting combat. Systems unclaimed by a player. You can claim it with an action on the next turn, or if you have at least 3 strength, claim it automatically. And in order to auto claim a system with a 3 strength, it has to be an actual move action, and not being forced into moving there. If you move into systems claimed by other players, your movement ends, but you lock down their system from extracting or deploying anything in there. You can raid another person's home system to steal victory points. And I believe the raid part is featured later. There's a special type of movement called jump. It has to be from a card or other ability. It's a special move to another system within the jump range that ignores any effects that trigger for passing through the systems along the jump path, including anything that would cause the fleet to stop moving. So if that had the ability to jump from here, and I was already explored here, could ignore anything on the way here. It looks like. Okay. The ships jumping as part of a move action must be split off into a separate fleet. A single fleet, when traveling to another system, cannot combine ships jumping and moving normally. Okay. And of course, moving in unexplored requires having that much speed. Okay. Trade action. I believe I covered that with covering the costs. You can do the same trade operation more than once. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to buy stuff and then sell it because you're just losing money. Which is a lesson I should probably take to heart. Anyway. Manufacture. You can do each of the manufacturers um, multiple times in your manufacture action. Yeah, trade and manufacture are three operations each. So you could sell some stuff and use that to buy other things. You could trade for the minerals in one turn, and then on your next turn, manufacture what you need. Or build stuff. Research, action, and development. Okay. If you do the research action, you can search your development deck for any development cards and use them to fill any empty slots. Because that's the only way to refill stuff after you've done your research. Okay. And it's just covering the categories and all that. Usually you get research tokens during your upkeep, and then you distribute them among your development cards. You can either spread out your research a little bit and wait to see how the situation's going to turn before committing to something, or just pick the easiest thing to do and just knock it out. Like for me, I went with underdog, so I can put 2 on there and it's immediately ready. And then probably put another one on materials efficiency. Okay. Instead of distributing all your research tokens, you can spend 3 of them to search your deck for a new development card. So that's the only way to get another card out is to give up 3 research. If you have enough tokens, you can add another one as well. If you have anything left over, you can distribute to your new stuff. Any research tokens that are not immediately spent or distributed are discarded. So use them or lose them. And again, before or after your action, you can complete the development. Some things can be used in combat or just used in general. Build action. This should probably emphasize the fact that certain actions are going to be limited naturally. Move, claim, and extract are limited to 2. The rest are limited to 1 per round. Yeah, build. Again, build points. Everybody starts out at 6. There's going to be ways to improve that. You're going to need minerals and money and other components. They're built in your home system, your engineering complex. Structures go in your slots. or an assist, whether your home system or a system with your control marker. You've got 3 spots right from the get-go. And then each of these will help you out. You can use your build action to unlock your asteroid belts. Costs money and build points, but hey, it's gives you the other types that are going to help you with what you need to do. Yeah, when doing the starting asteroid belt, see what strategy you're kind of pushed into with your starting one, depending on which one you end up starting with. Like, we just start with titanium. That helps with small ships and moon material. If you go with Mexilon, that helps with components and medium ships. But medium ships are a development upgrade away. If you start with Pyrite, it's planetary materials and structures. So it seems like Mexilon is a weird one to try to start with. At the same time, Mexilon making components is a way to some good money early on. So yeah, we'll try each of the starting mineral possibilities and see what works. But yeah, build ships with their points and your materials. Build structures. Let's go over these. We got them in detail now. Let's go. Refinery is how you extract planetary materials and moon materials from the system during upkeep. So a refinery here means I can start getting moon materials. Obviously, your home system doesn't have a planetary or moon material, so you're probably not buying a refinery for it. Customs office. It's been a while since I've seen one of these. All the fun planetary industry shit from my days of streaming the game. Customs office lets you get $2 extra during your upkeep, or interstellar credits. Engineering complex. During upkeep, you get an additional research token, and during build action, you can build and deploy ships on any systems you control with an engineering complex. So you get further into the galaxy or universe, whatever, and you build a complex, and you have a forward operating base of construction. When you build and deploy a engineering complex and engineering, you cannot immediately build ships in that system unless you had another one in there already. Finally, citadels. This is probably what you're going to be building a ton of in your home system. They grant their bonuses even when occupied by enemies. At the beginning of combat, choose one orbit. That orbit gets +1 support for the entire battle. This effect does not stack with additional citadels. Okay. Each citadel has 1 strength. And after combat, when you're comparing the strength of fleets to determine the winner, each citadel adds 1 strength. So it's to defend your stuff. Enemies cannot use a claim action in systems with citadels unless the strength of their fleet is higher than the strength of the citadels in the systems. Alright. Discount structure slots. If a structure slot has any money, minerals, or build points on it, means the cost is reduced. So, upper level stuff is going to make things cheaper. So that first structure right there is going to be 5 less build points. This one's going to be 3 less build points and not require the pyrite. So yay. Unlocking the home system asteroid belts. We already covered that. Okay. Once everyone's passed and everyone's up to upkeep, refreshing the action cube so that you get everything back to your free and your spend stuff. All your exhausted fleets are unexhausted. All your mineral cards of the asteroid belts of systems you control. You get your cards. You get your cards for those. Asteroid belt tokens with 2 belts provide 2. And I believe at this point you have to discard down to 12. Yeah, once you gain any materials over limit, discard down. Extract materials for each refinery in the system. You'll get 1 material that's present and gain the corresponding token. So a refinery here, get my own material. Gain income. Everybody gets 4. Plus 2 for every customs office. Research. Gain your 3 research. Plus 1 for every engineering complex. Raid. If you have a fleet in an enemy home system, you raid it. All raids of the first player are resolved first. If a raid is successful, if the strength of your fleet is higher than the strength of the home system. Home systems start with 2, increased by citadels. Yeah. A successful raider steals 1 victory point from the raided player. You can only steal 1 victory point from each enemy in a single upkeep. If somehow you've managed to put 3 fleets in your opponent's home systems strong enough to take a point from each of them, that should almost be an insta-win just pulling that off. But no, that would be a maximum of 3. After a raid, you have to retreat. Do not place a fleet exhausted token for this move. The system must be explored and it cannot be controlled by another player, have enemy ships in it, or be a home system. Otherwise, if you can't, then your fleet is destroyed. Something to keep in mind with minerals. The other thing with minerals I missed out on. If there's ever not enough cards, then you start with the first player token and proceed clockwise, distributing one mineral of that type to the players who would get stuff. Same thing with any other resource. Yeah, after raids, your used developments are available again. Domination objectives will get victory points, and then the first player token is passed clockwise. Okay. The next section is ships in combat, but I want to get to domination real quick. Domination VP. Okay. To the victory section. What is domination? Domination. During upkeep, players are awarded victory points for domination objectives. 1 victory point for each player that controls 5 or more non-home systems. So, more incentive to push out and take over stuff. 1 VP for the player who controls 5 or more non-home systems and more systems than any other player. So, explore, take over more than anyone else to get the 2 victory points. And then 1 victory point for the player who controls the center. So if you've got at least 5 home systems, more than anyone else, in the center, that's 3. Yeah. Oh yeah, other ways to get victory points. I believe I've covered missions already. Manufactured victory points. Certain developments you research, and then if you win a combat and destroy at least 1 enemy ship in the process, you'll get a victory point. Lots of ways to get victory points, so make the most of them. Ship combat is going to get interesting. So each ship card has its stats. We've got the name of the ship. I want to say that's the Tech 2 or Tech 3 name, because otherwise that's the Slasher. That's the Probe. That's the Teller or Thrasher. I very fondly remember this as the Hurricane. This is probably the later tech level stuff that, I've just kind of missed out on. Anyway. So let's go ahead and look over the cards for the ships. We have the name of the ship and the ship overall type. And the ship size. Size will matter for the orbits. Okay. This little shape down here is to give you an idea what it's supposed to look like, in case you need help distinguishing it. Stats. Difficulty. How hard it is to lock onto the ship as a target of attack. I believe the little crosshairs are how you lock in. Attack, how many dice the ship adds when it's attacking as a leader. Support, how many dice the ship adds to the attack when it's supporting. So if this ship is the leader in its little orbit here, say a small orbit, okay, so it's getting 2 white dice. The bigger the ship, the more it can get into the black dice, which seem to be more damage oriented. While the white dice seem more just being able to lock in on your targets. Red, reduction. How much damage is prevented in every attack against the ship? Smaller ships are obviously going to be more fragile in terms of being able to prevent damage, as well as hull points, HP. How much damage has to be dealt to the ship to destroy it. So it dies in one point of damage, provided they can lock onto it. And then speed is movement. Some ships will have abilities. Like, when this reveals an unexplored system, you can draw an additional discovery token and then return 1 in the bag. It also has a little blue symbol with a 1. I believe that's Defense Systems T1. So at the start of combat, it can get -2 attack and -1 support to get +2 difficulty. If you just need to survive and then maybe retreat, that might be the key to it. Okay. Having multiple ships of the same type in the same orbit does not repeat or stack individual abilities. Advanced ability. Let's see. Again, it's all development stuff. Critical abilities. Anything that shows this symbol will set up a critical ability. Things will provide abilities if the ship is a leader or for support, so they'll have to be there. And this is kind of interesting. They added a QR code to the manual to a video that will demonstrate battle, which I might have to check out later. All right, preparation and strategy. Each player will prepare a strategy card, face down. Assigned orbits. Remove all ships from the system. So put a reminder, hey, combat is here. Place on combat panels on the opposite side of the board. Okay. So there are the 3 orbits, small, medium, large, with the leader and support positions. Only small ships can be leaders. Only medium ships can be leaders here. Only large can be leaders there. The remaining ships are assigned to support. They can be in any orbit that has a leader. So you have your little ship as the leader for your battle cruisers. Okay. It's entirely possible to have a leader with no support. Okay. And it's okay. Start of combat. Any start of combat abilities, the strategy card you prepared. Okay. The strategy card will remain face up in front of you. It should be close to the battle, so you know it still applies, but it will get discarded at the end. Okay, combat round. Each orbit will make an attack. Both players have leaders in the same orbit. Their attacks take place at the same time. Although to keep things from being too wild, the attacker will roll their stuff first and then the defender. If the attacker destroys any ships in their attack, they'll get damage tokens on them, but they won't be destroyed until after the defender does theirs. If a orbit's leader is destroyed before their orbit attacks, the player who has lost their leader will not attack from orbit that round. And then retreating. At the beginning of each round, before any attacks are made, before any start of the round effects are resolved, starting with the attacker, the player can choose to retreat. Unless they're hit with a warp bubble. Because that's a thing. Okay, once a player decides to retreat, the opponent cannot decide to retreat in the same round. The current round of combat becomes last round. The retreating player does not perform any attacks, but their ships get +1 difficulty. Okay, attacking. Choose a target. So, before establishing the number of dice and rolling them, you must choose a target. The target can be any enemy ship in any orbit. Some of your orbit leaders' attack statistic. So, we got 2 white here. and with the support statistic of all supports and citadels. So let's say we've got a whole. Let's say my other little ship is supporting. We're attacking with the stiletto. I'll give it the 3 dice. And then the cheetah will support with 1. So small orbit attacks use white dice. Medium orbit attacks use a mix of black and white dice. Prepare half. The established number is odd. You get one of your choice. Otherwise, medium orbit attacks are going to be even numbers. And then large orbit attacks are entirely with black dice. Good luck. And then anything provided by support is based on the leader. So the cheetah adds one support die. It's always going to be a white die for that orbit. Okay. You can add additional dice through strategies, developments, and all that stuff. And these added dice can exceed the initial 10 dice limit. So you're limited to 10 dice in an attack period. The special stuff, there's special stuff that can exceed that. But once you roll the dice, look at what we got here. Okay. So those crosshairs are aims. They're needed to lock onto the target. This little burst is a damage. Represents 1 damage to a ship. Okay. And then if it ever comes up, the critical damage, which sets off critical damage results. To the extent that those apply. It's 1 damage to a ship and the special ability of the leader, if it applies. Alright. And then after rolling dice, starting with the attacker can use reroll effects. And then the defender. Each die can only ever be rerolled once. After all effects are used, count the results. First, you need to lock in. So let's say I'm fighting. What do they bring? Okay, let's say they brought in a cruiser. The difficulty of 2. So that those 2 results lock in. And then once that it's locked in for the attack and any other attacks made from the following orbits or the following rounds that. Yeah. Okay. This target is locked in. It only becomes locked in for that attack. And any other attacks made from the following orbits. It only becomes locked in for that attack. Any other attacks made from following orbits require locking in again. If there are not enough aim results, your attack missed. Fighting seems like it's going to be a slog if you don't have a shitload of ships. Anyway, if there are enough results, then you do damage. First, you have to get past reduction. So let's say even though I do lock in on their ship, their reduction of 2 means nothing's happening. Okay. If there was enough to get past reduction, then every point past that will do damage to that ship. Okay. If a ship takes enough damage equal to its hull points, it's destroyed. This destroyed ships will be removed after both players in that orbit resolve their attacks. If possible, use excess results to damage additional targets. So after destroying one ship, leftover damage can go to other ships in that same orbit. So let's see here. Yeah. Okay. You still have to lock in on another ship. So even if you have enough damage, you still have to lock in on another ship too. Destroyed ships will get removed from battle after both sides have done their orbit. And at the end of the round, realign orbits. Once everything's been resolved, anything that doesn't have a leader, you can choose a support ship of the appropriate size to become the new leader in that orbit. If no support ship can become a leader, then you must remove all support ships from their orbit and assign them elsewhere. The ships can be allocated as leaders to anything that doesn't have a leader. And then, if it's not the last round of combat, start a new round. So, yeah, with only a few ships, it's going to be hard to do anything that isn't like a single powerful ship. But even then, still seems kind of rough. It's like the only way to really have a shot at doing any kind of damage whatsoever is to have a massive fleet. Okay, end of combat. When after the last round, or no ships left. Clean up. Return ships to the system they came from. Return all ships to the system where it happened and remove all damage. So you've only got the entirety of that combat to destroy ships, and then they're fixed again. Whenever the combat is player with the highest strength. So you'll just have like a battleship and a bunch of enemy frigates, and provided there's 4 or less, they're not going to do much to it. They're just going to have to fall back anyway. Citadels will add strength. Developments will add strength. Home system will add 2. In the event of a tie or mutual destruction, the attacker is defeated. Retreating from combat is always treated as a defeat. And then the defeated fleet flees the system. They have to see here. They have to go to an adjacent system that's explored, not controlled by another player, doesn't have any enemy ships. Can be the system from which the enemy fleet has arrived. And then after the fleet moves, they are exhausted. If there's no suitable system, they're destroyed. And they get an event card for every 3 strength worth of ships destroyed. In that manner. But not from combat. Actually, there will be. Combat rewards. The attacker gets a VP. If they are both the winner of combat and destroy at least 1 enemy ship. Count the strength of all ships the attacker has lost. They get 1 event card for every 3 strength. Same thing for the defender. They don't get the victory points, but they do get the reparations. It is a nice little kind of bounce back mechanic if you've lost a considerable chunk of your fleet. And that was the entirety of battle. So I want to get some ships out and do like a full on demonstration here. Okay. Because you know what? I really want to demonstrate this a little bit better than how it's been. So let's see here. Alright. Destroyer. Let me get the actual ships out here. Alright. Let's see. Yeah, the game comes with some really nice trays for storing everything. Alright. That's right. That one's there. Alright. So let's put the Saber as the leader. Let's put those two as the support. And then for Amar, those out. Destroyer is that one. Does it look like? Yeah, the Heretic will be the leader of that fight. Alright. Put this away. Alright. So there's sub as leader, there's sub leader, anything special. Let's no one. Yeah, everyone's got the same set of abilities for their ships. Generally. There's a little bit of changes between them, but they're mostly the same. Okay. Like some differences here will be like the Saber has the once per attack add 1 damage plus 1 damage result for rolling critical. The critical for the Heretic is once per attack and you reroll up to 2 dice. But both of those require Offensive Systems 1 to unlock. Alright. Let's say they both went neutral formation on strategy. Alright. So we've got 4 and then 2 additional in support. And then gonna have 4 and 2 in his support. Alright, so let's go ahead and roll. So they're attacking first. They lock in like nothing else. The damage, but only 1 damage. No reduction, but enough hull points to not give a damn. For now. Okay. And then they roll. Alright. So, I don't have the tech for the critical. So, 3 to lock in, and 2 to eliminate the ship. I have 1 damage left over, it's not going to do anything. Their ship's destroyed. I have to do a new leader. Or a retreat. Because, damn. Because at this point, if I put up this stiletto, then I'm down to 4 dice. 3 of which I'm gonna need to lock in. It might be at this point where I just declare the retreat and hope that I don't get hit in the process. But if I can lock in to do 1 more point, I can make them pay for it. So 3 plus 1 support. Let's go ahead. Locked in. Not even locked in. Shit. Then I have to reroll. Their attack. Because 4, 5, 6. Locked in and enough to kill that ship. So, provided nobody did War Pummel, I'll probably just take my last ship and run. I'm considered difficulty 4. They've got 6 dice that shoot me in the back on my way out. 1, 2, 3 is not enough because of the retreat bonus. I retreat. They win their battle. They won their battle and they destroyed a ship in the process. They get their victory point. So yeah. Anything else weird with the way the orbits work? Let me double check. Okay, it's your targets. So yeah. Okay. Small, medium, large. So yeah. Choose a target. Your target can be any enemy ship in any orbit. So you could target the support first. Okay. Attacking, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's combat. And after combat, everything gets taken care of, the damage goes away. The ships go back to where they were. Okay. Okay. So it's a good amount of preparation and then just roll. choose your target and roll. Alright. Post combat. Rewards was covered. Alright. So end of the game. Player gets 10 victory points. They declare Verge of Ascendancy. If it's announced during upkeep, complete the current upkeep and then one more round, one last upkeep, and the game is over. If it's announced in the middle of a round, like after you kick someone's ass in combat, or you fulfill a mission, or you kick someone's ass in combat, which also fulfills a mission. The player currently taking their turn completes it, and then the round immediately ends. Begin an emergency upkeep. There's no domination step. And then one more round, one more regular upkeep ends the game. After the game ends, the player with the most points wins. If there's a tie, more controlled systems. If there's still a tie, higher total strength of all ships remaining. If the winner cannot be determined, the tie player share a victory, which I call bullshit. At that point, you do one last big freaking battle with the remaining ships, and the winner takes all. 2 and 3 player games will use a different map setup. The game may not necessarily be balanced at that point, but at least it's something. The frame won't be used, but it's fine. At least the game's playable with fewer. It's not too difficult. The game's got expansions going for it as well. Titans, because everybody wants the big ship. Havoc and their Titan Azariel. The Deathless Circle is a 5th player. I have no clue how they operate. But they have a board that says corruption level. So it's something to look forward to. Succession. provides more options uh, for these, along with more development cards specific to your faction, because everyone's development deck is basically the same. And then there's all the fancy piece stuff. Uh, Better looking resources, better looking structures, better looking system control. And then, for reasons unknown, probably because it's a minis company and they take pride in their minis, there's the War for New Eden collector sets. Just if you just want your ships on the shelf, just looking cool, and apparently it's a bigger version of the ones that are included in the game. I guess if I had them, what I'd do is try to figure out some kind of space combat, straight up space combat game with them. And that's basically it. There's okay. I can't avoid comparing things to Eve Conquest, so let's get into it. We've got greater control over what you end up developing instead of hoping you draw a specific card from that deck. We've got the various structures really matter instead of just kind of being outposts of giving you a chance to use your cards that way. They go into detail with like minerals and components and materials. You can actually explore instead of just having the map already figured out ahead of you. It's less about the politics of trying to secure part of a landscape and more about the discovery and development and all that. This is overall closer to what I'm looking for in a tabletop EVE Online experience. That said, it would still be nice to see an actual play as the Capsuleer kind of game on the tabletop, but I can understand why that would be a big pain in the ass. But for now, I've got this. I've got my game. I'm probably going to hold on to this for a while. I definitely want the extension, the more options for the players stuff, because this is interesting. I want to see what the other options they have look like. And then after that is probably the Titans, because hell yeah. I'm not sure about the visual upgrade stuff. It depends on price and all that. But overall, do I like this game? Yes. We actually have miniatures for the ships instead of poker chips. I guess the only thing I really missed from Conquest out of this was the weird schedule calendar thing. But you know what? That's fine. This is something I'm definitely going to try to get to the table at least once. I'm going to look back on this video and how I struggled through everything in the rulebook and hopefully be able to explain it better now that I've kind of experienced it. And we'll see where this game goes from here as far as the expansions and anything else. But yep. It's the game I've been waiting for about 2 years now. And it is finally here. And you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with this game. I'm going to play it. I'm going to enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus. And we'll see you next time.